Welcome to the final presentation session. This is Team 4, and we designed a accessible zipline harness this weekend. So at the beginning, Tom connected us with the staff of Camp Twin Lakes, which is a summer camp for campers with physical disabilities. And basically, they have a zipline on their camp resort, and not all of the campers are able to use it because of their disabilities. Sometimes means that they can't use a standard harness. If they're in a wheelchair, it's very difficult to step into the loops, and also some people can't support their torso or their neck and head, which means that they can't hold themselves up while they're on the zip line. And they have a rudimentary solution, but it has a lot of problems. They have to do a lot of transitioning. And so they came to us hoping that we could make a more integrated harness solution that would provide the supports that they needed. So this is the original impromptu solution that they have, where basically they have this car seat that they put the camper in once they've made it up to the platform. But before then, they have to raise them out of the wheelchair in a separate harness to get them up to the platform in the tree. And then they get in this car seat that is strapped to the typical harness when they go on the actual zip line. So it's a bit of a complicated process and kind of just taking random bits and recycling them. So they wanted us to see if we could come up with a single harness that could serve all of their needs that they have.
So we had 4 main stages to designing this. The first was the ideation and creation of the rough model. So we talked to staff members and discussed possible modifications that could be made to the harness. The second step was the actual creation of the waistband. So we wanted to address the problem of strain on the back. So we created a waistband that securely and comfortably wraps around the body to keep the back upright. The next was the creation of the headpiece. So this was to address the problem of strain on the neck and the head. So we created a foam head support platform that could be folded if the user didn't want to use it. Lastly, we adjusted the harness and inserted buckles into the area where they adjust their legs. This way they don't have to stand up to loop their legs around. They can put the entire harness on by sitting down. So for step 1, when we created the rough model, we first interviewed Camp Lakers staff and we discussed the problems with the harness. And we also got proper human measurements and created a cardboard model of what we wanted it to look like with the headpiece and the centerpiece.
So our goal was to create a harness that was able to be fully accessible for all campers, as well as be able to streamline the process of getting a camper into the harness, which was one of their main problems that they had, that they told us. So essentially we created a centralized connection point that brings all points to one central weight-bearing point, which is connected to the zip line, which allows for a better weight distribution as well as angle when they're riding it. So we designed a 4-point connection that connects the waistband as well as the shoulder piece. So basically, it's right above the belly button, and it has 3 adjustable straps, so it'll fit essentially any body type. And it all opens up and it'll lay flat, so you don't have to step into it. You kind of just clip it around your body.
And the other component is headrest for the various campers who can't hold up their neck or their head. And they need something to support that so they don't just lay backwards, which would be very uncomfortable and possibly unsafe. So what we made is basically an origami cushioned headrest that can conform to the shape of the camper if they're using a helmet of various sizes, or just conform to how their head rests into it. And then it has some elastic bands that allow it to stretch open and then fold flat so that it can collapse behind them when they're not using it, if it's a camper that doesn't need the head support.
Elaborate on that headpiece. So this is what it looks like when it's fully engaged. So it has like a place to encapsulate the head or the helmet. And then if a user does not need the head support, instead of just having them use it anyways, we'll have it fold away and then it clips to the back. So they won't have to have anything in their head if they're able to have their own head support, which allows for better user experience for people who don't essentially need that neck support.
Lastly, we modified the harness and inserted buckles. So as I said before, this allows the user to put on the entire harness without standing up. And we basically took the original harness and inserted buckles into the front where they could easily buckle in.
And this is a video of how we envisioned it to be put on someone who's in a wheelchair. So we wanted to design it so they wouldn't have to be lifted out of their chair, which is how the camp currently does it. They have to bring the person out of the chair to get the harness around them. But we created leg loops that are all clip-in, so you basically just have to wrap around the legs, and then it eliminates having to, carry them out of the chair and streamlines the process of getting them in the harness. And then for a conventional harness, it doesn't have as many points of connection, but we felt that in order to make them more secure and have a more comfortable ride, we added extra points. So the waistband adds that lower back support, which is very important for kids who don't have enough muscle or don't have the ability to hold up that lower back area. And then the shoulder straps also are all padded throughout the back, and it allows for more comfort because they're going to be leaning back slightly and putting all that weight on their back, and we don't want the straps digging into their shoulders. And then the headpiece will pull up if needed, and then it folds away when not needed. And then this is how the harness is fully on.